I've got one last question about entrepreneurship.
All right.
You mentioned breaking the mold to be your own boss.
Right. I'm about to make some bosses mad with my answer. Watch this.
Okay,
so if y'all boss in here, just don't even look that way. Just like look straight ahead.
So what advice do you have for somebody who wants to break the mold like you?
All right, here's the deal. This is for anybody who, this has always been my philosophy, how I operate. And it really deals with me, Inc. All right. How many of you in this room, you are an employee of a company? I'm going to ask the question again. How many of you in this room are an employee of a company? Now, you're not an employee of a company. Here's how you have to think about this here. If you own your own business and you go out and you need clients, correct? You put the 5-minute sign down, I got you. You need clients. So you go out and solicit clients. You pitch your services. The client then looks to hire you for your services. They see you as a vendor. You see them as a client. If you do well with the contract, then they simply renew the vendor relationship and you keep going. If there's a downturn in business, or if you're not doing a good job, they found a better person, well then what they do is they end the vendor relationship, right? That's exactly what you are. When you apply for your job, you were looking for a new client. They were looking for a vendor. You walked in, applied, pitched your services, they chose to pay you, and they said, okay, we're gonna pay you. Guess what? They became your client. You are their vendor. And so what happens when there's a downturn in the economy? They say, well, we need to increase shareholder value. Increase shareholder value, you do that 2 ways. Cut expenses, increase revenue. If you can't increase revenue, you cut expenses. All y'all see you still as employees, you are an expense. That's how they see you. They don't care about the 20 years. They don't care about the golf y'all played. You might get cut. And so you sitting here mad. You call it, I got fired. Not me, I call it, they ended the vendor relationship. That means that your job is to go find you a new client. Now, if you have that philosophy, that means that what you're always trying to do is figure out alternate sources of revenue. In business, they call that multiple revenue streams. In the hood, they call that a side hustle. It's the same thing. It's a side hustle. It's the same thing. So while you're working for a company, you should be seeing yourself as your own CEO. That means that your first goal is to increase shareholder value. You. Your job is to protect shareholder value. You. Because while you being a loyal worker all day, trust me, when they got a cut, you get cut. They ain't talking about teamwork. They ain't talking about how you stayed late. You getting cut. And so while you are working for someone else, you have to see yourself as your own company. You got to see yourself developing your own brand. You got to see, like for instance, a friend of mine, Neil Foote, was working for Belo Corporation. They said, we're going to pay for you to get an MBA. Neil's like, cool. Today, Neil don't work for Belo anymore, but he still got his MBA. They paid for it. There are too many people who do not take advantage of the skill set as applied in that particular company. Every company I work for, they got a free class. I'll be there. When I worked for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, we covered the Branch Davidian standoff in Waco, and they had this little computer called a TR-80. We call them Trash 80, a Radio Shack. This laptop had like 3 lines, and it was like 3 lines. This was like 1995, and we went to the hotel room, and they said, type your story. I went, on what? That? I said, oh, hell no, I ain't typing my story on that, man. I said, y'all, dude, I grew up computers. What's this? These things were so old, that's when you had to unscrew the phone line with the tweezers connected. Bruh grew up plugged into a modem. I said, I don't know. So when we got back to the company, I badgered them for a year to buy new computers. I mean, I cussed the business manager out. I said, how you gonna send out this? I mean, I rode him hard. When the computers came, I was the first one in line. When Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building blows up, we go cover the story. We got a room full of reporters, 16 people. They all in my hotel room. We made it to the newsroom. Perfect example. I wasn't the boss, but I took over that scene and I ran the whole show. Did nobody ask me to do it, but I did it anyway. See, I thought I was a CEO. I told them where to sit, when to type, everything. See, you ain't got to always ask somebody for permission. I just do. So, again, in that situation, knew how the computers ran, so it was time to file stories. They were confused. I knew how it worked. Fine. Roll looked good. It was out of that situation I realized that, wait a minute, I can run my own show. So I've always been in a position of saying, wait a minute, I need to be thinking multiple revenue streams, developing multiple skill set to be able to grow my business. Because what happens is when we get laid off and we think like an employee, then we start saying, what am I going to do? If you think like a CEO while times are good, you creating your secondary business, so when something happens, you don't simply figure out what I'm doing. It's called make a transition. You go from side hustle to full time. That's what you do. And so you need to be figuring out right now, while you have this amazing skill set, how can I take all the skills here? Now, to all the bosses here, it doesn't mean it's no longer a loyal employee. It doesn't mean they're not playing by teamwork. That's actually what you want. Because what might happen is you might see somebody who is developing a secondary business. You might say, well, wait a minute. Why don't we sit here, potentially invest in your business, create us a partner, an additional revenue stream for the company while building your particular company. The company could potentially become your venture capitalist for your particular dream. But if you never think like a CEO, you never do that. Now, you start, first of all, with Habakkuk 2. It's in the Bible, though, y'all who don't know. And it talks about writing the vision down, making it plain. That's what you have to do. And so all the things that I'm doing, my deal has always been about not waiting for the moment. This is my book. I didn't ask the publisher. First of all, I like control. Because, again, I told the dude my picture, my way. So I like that. Why? Because you can control your brand. Well, here's the deal. If I had a publisher for that book, then I probably would get max a 12% royalty after expenses. That book is $12. When I leave here, y'all buy the book, Roland keep it all 12. So understand something. So as I'm on TV One Cable Network, Essence Magazine, CNN, WVON, a syndicated column, being an author, and my speaking deal, I have created my own brand, my own company, which I run. CNN pays me for a service, I'm a contractor. They are a client, I'm a vendor. TV One, they're a client, I'm a vendor. That's how all my relationships are. So I control who I am and what I do. And I'm building skill set. And so although it might appear as if, well, he's just an employee, no, he's building a brand. I'll leave you on this here. Barack Obama wrote that first book. Didn't nobody buy that book. Y'all like, I ain't buying it. The skinny dude with the big ears, I ain't buying that book. So what happens? Obama gives a speech in 2004. They reprint that book. That book sells 400,000 copies. Do the math. They took that book, paperback, $20. 400,000 copies, that's $8 million. Now, here's my philosophy. All right, I blow up, I own the book. Said 400,000 copies, Roland gonna make $8 million. You have to constantly be thinking like that because you are walking around as your own corporation and you don't even know it. You can potentially be consulting. You can be an education consultant. You can be a business consultant. You can be a media consultant. You have the capacity to run your own shop. The people sitting in this room are your potential vendors, potential clients, potential employees, potential partners. If there's somebody in who understands graphics and somebody here who has a media firm, you may say, wait a minute, I need your services. So therefore, the two of you can empower one another. A third party pays you, you pay them. Now you have two businesses that are working together. The day we begin to stop being beholden to the old way of thinking, because businesses now are saying, don't even come to the office, do your thing externally. So when you leave here, always say, I am the CEO of Me, Inc., Rhonda, Inc., Paul, Inc., Wayne, Inc., Mike, Inc., whatever it is. And I got to be able to create my own business for me, because when the time comes and a job ends, whether you retire, you get fired, laid off, or whatever, you have made the proper transition. And when you think back, you may realize all the opportunities you pass up. So if you're sitting here at Chicago United, don't just sit here and saying, well, here's an opportunity where I can meet some other people. No, you may be sitting in here and saying, I might have 5 or 10 future clients for my business if only I think of myself as a CEO.